People, good night. Welcome to another edition of Just Reasoning Live. I have a special guest tonight, dressed like a candy cane.
Where's Waldo?
A returning champion, Miss Police, Lioness Desiree, officer. How are you doing, ma'am? How are you this evening?
I'm good. Tonight, my new name is Manatek Licks Off a Norman.
Manatek Licks Off a Norman. Oh, well, that's a perfect introduction. Something that we have to touch on. What kind of licks are you talking about?
The way licks are spelled.
I know. It could be licks or...
I'm just
anyway,
saying.
which kind of licks? You don't like either kind of licks. Anyway, let me...
Because you spelled the wrong kind of licks.
I know.
Oh, is that the other licks?
Yeah, yes. it could be licks or lick. It is after 9 o'clock, so this is the after hours version.
I just realized I'm the only girl on. I feel like y'all gonna tag team me or something.
No. See, no. We don't do that. That's how it always is. We always bring in a lady to add some class to the conversation. Otherwise it's just beer man and chat foolishness. So we can't have that. So the licks conversation, we'll get into that a little bit, but something I just found out today, I don't know if y'all heard, but Marcus Garvey Jr. passed away. Yesterday? I didn't know that he had a son that was still alive. But yeah, Marcus Garvey, I think he lived in Florida, passed away at age 90.
Wow.
So, and that's something I think that we should talk about on here one time. I don't think that Marcus Garvey gets, yeah, with everybody talk about MLK and all these other people, but so much of what so many freedom is Bob Marley or just Rastafari in general was based on principles of Garvey. So I don't think he gets enough effect overall. So that's when I saw that news today, I think we have to make Marcus Garvey's name be, his work speaks for itself, but I think we, as those who are benefited off much of what he taught and preached, we have to do more to keep his name out there and educate people. So that's something. Yeah. Anyway, with same madness going on in the world with in this democracy of ours, quote unquote democracy. The latest madness going on. We have Texas's Attorney General. Y'all heard about this, right? Yeah. Are you brethren that? Okay, all right. So, Texas Attorney General is suing Michigan, Pennsylvania, and a couple other swing states about the election results. When I first saw that, I put it in the same box as all this other madness that's going on, with Republicans not, ready to accept the results. But this one is a little different because it goes to something else that's going on. In that, I don't follow Texas politics very closely, but apparently he's on an investigation by the FBI, the Texas Attorney General. Not only is he on an investigation by the FBI, he was previously indicted for some securities fraud. So he's literally facing decades in prison, right? So what has come about is people who are looking for a pardon are just doing things to get Trump's attention. So, this quote unquote democracy that we live in, I think one thing that has really come out in the past few years is just how easily corruptible it is.
Now, is he doing it to get Trump's attention, or is he acting on orders by Trump? What do you think?
I think it is the latter. The former. I think I think he's doing it to get Trump's attention, because Trump could ask any Republican governor or Republican AG throughout the whole country to file a similar suit. There's nothing unique about Texas. But so why does Texas feel like it's their need to do that?
It's unique to him because he's trying to get a pardon while he passes him out.
Exactly. So it's much more so the fact, I believe, that he's facing prison time. Trump out part Candy. Speaking of Candy Cane, we have on the show tonight. Speaking of Candy, and so Trump handed them out. So one way to get his attention, you try and sue. And when they know this not going anywhere, but hey, that's what's happening. Especially what you say.
Well, Trump in mind simple now. So anybody we talk up female or look like independent inside, when them people in a trouble, you just say, yo, you want a pardon? All right. Got to help me out and just bust him. But I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. It's really just a waste of time. I don't even know why, people are even talking about it. I mean, the election is already decided. They're making preparation for transition. All this other thing is just a distraction that we don't need. We need people to focus on something more important other than from frivolous lawsuit.
Right? True. But, you remember leading up to the election, there was just a lot of fear about what's going to be happening right in the immediate days, on election day, right after the election. People thought it was just going to be people in the streets with guns and madness all about. So it didn't happen at that point. But the way things are going now, it's just kind of trending that way. Because Trump has clearly lost, but his, this is fraud, it's been stolen, it's getting louder and louder and louder. And so you have some people who are not wrapped too tight, who believe this stuff and are acting on it. There was some, I think the Secretary of State in Wisconsin, I think, she was at home, wrapping Christmas, put up Christmas decorations with her 12-year-old son, and all these protesters outside her house, making all this noise, and so these type of things are happening all over the place, where just these election workers who we would never hear about in any other case are being threatened. That's not going to go. This trend is not going to continue without something bad happening. That's just the natural progression of things. I know. Police, what do you have to say as our law enforcement representative tonight? What should be done? How do we stop this?
How do we stop this? You can't change the hearts and minds of folks, so we don't stop it. We just keep on keeping on. That's all I got. It's the sign of the end times. This is to be expected.
You think so? When is it going to end?
When Jesus comes.
When Jesus comes? All right.
Who's gonna argue with that?
Well, on that note,
moving right along.
All right, Miss Minaj, take no licks off no man. Let's get into it. All right, so we have Just Reason on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So last week we had a nice reasoning about all kinds of topics. And as soon as, we have our reason and we have our after reason where we just talk amongst ourselves. And as soon as we get off the phone, as soon as we get off the meeting here, you just go on social media and there was all these posts about, cancel Majah hype and, And and we're like, what? What's going on? So for those who do not know, Major Hype, the Caribbean comedian, very popular. He does all these different Caribbean accents. You can't even tell where the man come from. And he's been very popular now for several years. And so and going and look at it now, his ex-wife, girlfriend, or what have you.
Ex-fiance, because you like to be in facts. So let's not Let's be accurate.
All right, so before she's fiance, wasn't she a girlfriend? Or she just start off as fiance? All right, so I'm correct. Ma'am. Anyway, so she did a live, an Instagram live last week where she was talking about how basically that she has been abused physically, mentally, sexually by Major Hype. And I watched the whole thing, and it sounded awful. And so everybody immediately jumped to conclusions that hey, whatever has been said is 100% factual. So I'm like, man, this don't look good. And better say something. And so a couple of days went by. So I thought she did that Wednesday. So by Friday afternoon. In this social media era, that's just a long time because, and in that time period, within a few hours of this coming out, his followers went from 1.2 million to 1.1 million. That's significant in such a short period of time. So people assumed that it was true, point blank. So Friday, when he did his live, in addition to saying a bunch of other things, I don't think he should have said, but he flat out denied the accusation.
He did not flat out.
He did.
He danced around it.
Ma'am. No, he did flat out deny it.
But let's backtrack a little bit because between that time frame, there was a leak on a sex tape with what's the young lady's name? Kirby. Yeah, there was a leak of a sex tape. So with that, Kirby went on another live and addressed that situation as well. So it was 2 videos from her, and then on Friday is when Major Hype came in and said his piece.
Right. So one thing that I heard him say from his own mouth was, I did not abuse Kirby. Right? He said he did not do it. Now, again, so now in addition to all the other things he said, what you have is one person saying he did it, one person saying I did not do it, with no conclusive proof one way or the other that is the case. So I'm about to stop talking here in 1 second. I'm just going to throw out a question. So we'll start off with you. Did people jump to conclusions too fast in this? I'll start with that, and then you can take it in any direction that you want.
Maybe yes to answer your question. But let me backtrack one thing. Because y'all have to realize words have power. The context in which words are used has power, and you can't just say that he said something and that's not what he said. He did not come out and say, I did not abuse Kirby. He came out and said, she's saying that I abused her. She's the one that abused me. She's the one that was abusing me. There's a difference in someone coming out and saying, no, I did not abuse that person, and them dancing around it and saying they abused me. All he did was deflect.
So what about the part about she abused me? Is that relevant?
The point is, he never came out and said, I never abused her.
Cool. All right, so with that said, is that relevant if he said, she abused me? Is that relevant?
Yes, it's relevant.
Okay, so with that said, and you, from a from a law enforcement standpoint. So what I believe is that it was a toxic relationship where they physically engage with each other on many occasions.
I agree.
That's what I believe. That's what I think. So in such a case, and you can answer from a law enforcement standpoint, if, as he described, the thing is same happening, send kits where they kick off about something and she punched him in his face. That's what he said, right? So if his reaction to that, and we don't know what happened after that, but he said she came and she punched him in his face. At that point, if he were to get up and punch her back, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's going to leave more for Mark.
Right.
What happens in that case? Is that domestic violence? Is that just assault on both of their parts? What is that classified as?
Of course.
You understand what I'm asking?
I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
It's still domestic violence on both parties. But if there's not a third party to say, yes, this is what I observed, and it becomes his word against hers, then we're going to look at the evidence, which is going to be the bruising. If she doesn't have any, or if she has bruises and he doesn't, then of course he's the one that's going to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make it right. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't make it right.
Right. So what do you believe? Do you believe he's just straight up abuser? He's just beating this woman mercilessly all the time? Or do you believe that they had physical fights?
I believe that it was a very toxic relationship. I believe that it should have ended way, way, way long ago. I believe that, yes, he was a very jealous person. And we've heard this from many sources that, yes, Majah Hype is a very jealous person. Even when you're not in a relationship, y'all are just talking, he's very possessive. Oh, don't talk to nobody else. Like, many people have came out and said that about him. So do I think that it got to his head that he has a pretty girl on his arm and she can't talk to anybody else? Yeah. I think that he wanted total control over her. I totally believe that it got out of control and that he was abusive. Yes, I do believe that.
Right. So, all right. So all those things may be true. Total control, jealous, all that. Those things aren't crime. Really, the only part of this that I care about is, was he abusive to her? Was he abusive to her? And now part two, is he the one leaking all of these sex videos?
Which is also a crime.
But do we know that to be the case?
But now you have two. Now you have two charges. So
Right. So you know what? What I think should happen? Take that shit to court. Because it is. Yeah, I think a bunch of people run to one side and they believe what they believe and they're not backing off it. Mm-hmm. And people jump to the other side and they believe what they believe. Argue that shit in court. Under the penalty of perjury, penalty of, prison time for lying under oath, and take it from there. Because at the end of the day, it is just her word against his right now, and both putting out little pieces of evidence that is this and is that. Right. But we don't really know. So I think until it goes to court, it's just going to,
before it could even get to court, it has to be investigated. So police have to get involved first. You don't just go to court and say, hey, judge, here's my evidence.
Right. So
there's a process.
Exactly. But it takes somebody going to the police and saying I was physically abused. Somebody, say I was defamation of character. I didn't do that. It's going to have to go there. You know what I mean? Or we just people just believe what they believe and we just move right on.
Well, defamation of character is a civil suit, and charges about abuse and assault and revenge porn is criminal. So again, you have two separate cases.
But either way, it would require a court case, whether civil or criminal. And if you lie in either, then you get in more trouble. So that, Special, you're quiet here. Oh yes, sir. You know, you know business.
No, and I really that me have a whole heap of question all about it, right?
Ask them. Police have the answer.
From me I hear from the two of them, a whole heap of thumping going all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, right? She said in the video that the video where Majah Hype released, I want a whole video for a long time. My first question to her is, how come you there with that guy and you have a video from way back when you did have sex with that guy? Why you still have that in your camera? Why do you still have that in your camera?
So,
on your phone.
Listen, I am a collector of fine valuables, and I have.
So no, but let me ask you a question. No, but you are engaged to a new man. Are you going to keep a sex video of you and the previous man from way back then in your phone?
Hey, that's before my time.
Right?
So listen. According to her, one, their relationship was rocky. They was off and on, okay? Number two, she's saying that it wasn't a video that she just had on her phone, that during one of their breakups, she started back talking to the other guy, and the guy was like, man, I sure do miss you. Remember this night? And sent her the video back, like, remember this night? That has happened.
But guess what? When they got back together. No, but
so it was in the cloud.
Right, when they got back together, why is it that she kept the video again? You delete that. I mean,
it was in the cloud, especially in the air.
The cloud, it don't count. It's in the cloud.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not a crime to have that on your phone.
No, I'm not disputing that.
It's not a crime. And
he's not talking crime.
It's not a basis for her to get her butt whooped either.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Y'all have to stay focused. Y'all have to stay focused.
We're having a conversation.
All these extra details for what reason?
No,
for what reason?
You
all right, go on.
You have to look at the perspective where the arguments come in.
Okay.
Well, because as all we know is a bunch of people get thumped. We don't know who started, and we're trying to figure out why this thumping starts, right? And it could be that, because I don't know why she mentioned it. Apparently, it is important. And secondly, she's saying that there's a lot of videos there that they're old, and he took her phone away, and he has access to all of that. Mm-hmm. Which leads me to think that she's done this several times, right?
And what's wrong with that? She's a grown woman, and it's her.
I understand that. Nothing.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
because there's obviously a double standard here, where men can go out and sleep with whoever they want, collect all the vagina pictures that they want, and no one judges them. But as soon as this woman,
that's you saying that.
But as soon as this woman partakes in sexual activity as an adult, she's nailed to the cross, and that's not right.
No decent woman.
So look here. So nobody.
No, hold on. Wait. No decent woman would what?
Would have their man have a detailed collection of women or trophies that they have on their phone. Extensive pictures of vagina all around the place. No woman would want their man to do that.
Extensive.
None.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, but there's no real woman that would want their man to have a collection of.
Speaking of double standard, I have a question for y'all. Would we be so up in arms if Majah Hype came out first with his video and said, "Look here, I've been in an abusive relationship with this woman. She's been whooping my ass for 2 years."
Yeah. Yes.
No, of course we would still be up in arms. Because
Police, you take that one first. Because that is something I wanted to ask.
No, we would not be up in arms. It would have been a big joke. He would have been looked at
Exactly. So
swept underneath the rug. It would not have been
so now that you acknowledge that double standard, is it possible, again, like what he said in his video, Kirby is a very abusive woman. That's what he said, right? And then he described at least one incident where she abused him. So the thing is, people have just completely discounted that, like him didn't even say it. But what if that is the 100% truth? Like, she is very abusive. She come out, and so what and maybe on occasion swing back. But what if she is the abuser? Can you fathom that? And have you considered?
I can definitely fathom that. I know.
But it doesn't come across in most people's. The people who are the most adamant, like, oh, cancel maybe is done. They don't consider the fact they don't consider his view on that, hey, I'm being abused. People don't take it seriously.
Right.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. And I want to say the tape. I can't understand. I now condone.
See what now? See what tape?
But the kind of backers when I see she run on the video, I would be upset too. Right? Because that would hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Well, hold on. You have to look at the time frame though. Did he been know about these videos and about all these different men? Or is he now finding out, as we are finding out, since he claims he's not the one that leaked it? So if that's the case, hold on. If the case is that the video came after the licks, then it still doesn't add up that he was beating her butt with no cause.
Well, who said he was beating her, Desiree? You're concluding that.
If he was beating her,
thank you for the
without cause, because he's just now finding out about the videos as we're finding out about the video.
Right. I mean, there is no valid cause to me. Right? I mean, everybody keep your hands to your damn self. And when you touch somebody, man or woman, whatever happens in response happens. Who hit who first and what God, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, keep your hands to your damn self. That's the bottom line. But enough about them. As passionate as many people are about either side, I think we just don't know. To the issue of domestic violence in general, I think we can all agree that it is a big problem just throughout our community. I mean, throughout the world, really, right? It's not a Caribbean thing, it's not a black thing, it's an issue throughout the world. Desiree, you mentioned that it's something that you're passionate about. So if you can kind of speak to like any initiatives that you have done, are doing, considering doing in this area. Let's make some good come out of this. I mean, it's why we're all talking about it to begin with. But we'll never know what happened 100% in that scenario. But what can we do to make some good out of this very bad situation?
So, like I said on my live that I did the other night, I have never been a victim myself of physical abuse. But growing up, I was in a mentally, emotionally, all the other E's abuse in my childhood, right? And so when I became a police officer and I started seeing that, man, this is like really a big deal. And I started seeing women actually dying and children suffering, seeing this day in and day out. I knew that I had to be a voice for the victims that are still here with us, thank God, and the victims that have died and gone on. So I made it one of my life works that I would talk about it every chance that I got, and I did, and I still do. I've done Heroes, which was a party where we raised money. Everyone dressed up in costume as a superhero, symbolic as we're here to save any victims of domestic violence, and that they needed to stop being silent and speak out against their abusers. 2017, I believe it was, Beanie Man's ex-wife, D'Angel, and Connie from Houston, and myself and some other ladies, beautiful ladies, put together a rally, a girls rock rally. This was around the time when I think many, many women were being was it killed or kidnapped? Something was going on in Jamaica around that
Traffic.
time.
Yeah, traffic and
Trafficking.
Human trafficking. And so we did that then, and then that kind of just went away, because that's the thing. When things happen, you get a reaction. People react.
And then it goes away.
Right.
And they're in an uproar, and then things, either something else happens to overshadow it, or it just kind of goes away. But what doesn't go away is the lives that it has affected personally. You know what I'm saying? They have to live with those scars and and everything that comes along with it day in and day out. And that's what we don't see. But it does affect us all. And that's what people need to realize. It might not affect you personally, but I'm sure it's either affected someone that you work with, that you know, and they're suffering in silence. And I think that's the big deal, that we need to talk about it more. Maybe people can look for the signs, something, but something definitely has to be done.
It's what you the key takeaway I took from what you said just now is, in another 2 weeks we will stop talking about Majah, Hype, and Kirby.
Yeah.
But those situations exist, and people are still living in this this trauma.
Right.
So any ideas that you have about how we can keep focus on this issue in a general sense? Well, any ideas you have there?
For one, we need to stop making light of it. There's nothing funny about domestic violence. There's 1,000 memes being thrown around about the Majah Hype situation, but at the end of the day, it's not funny.
Right.
And for anybody to find humor in that, I find that person is sick or has some mental issues going on. Holding each other accountable. If you know somebody that's putting hands on their husband, their wife, their children, whatever, pull them up on it. Call them out on it. Tell them about themselves. Don't know it and keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So, so we had and I sent you a link to this. We had an episode of Just Reasoning a couple months ago. One of my Facebook friends who was murdered by an ex-boyfriend. And so we next episode we discussed domestic violence in general, and we had a lady who is she's an expert in the field. Her background is Cheryl's Voice is the name of her organization. Cheryl was her mother, who was killed by her father in a domestic dispute, and so she started an organization. And so we talked about this from many perspectives. And she mentioned that many of the people she mentioned that domestic abuse against men is extremely common. And because people come to her and her organization, but most men are even less willing to come forth and talk about it because people feel them like a bitch or a punk. So they don't talk about it. And also what you mentioned about being funny, people will make a whole lot of fun about a man being beaten. And you can see that in many different cases. But I think it's something that we as a people should take seriously. Whether a man or a woman. Yes, it happens a lot more to women, but it happens a lot to men. So it's something that we should take seriously and aim to address in any way that we can. So,
well, the thing about it is we don't have Hawk for men, right? I don't know about any, but I think there are support groups that they have where men can come on and discuss this, and it's a little bit more sensitive for a man. Our egos are a little bit higher, and we take things that have to do with sensitivity a little bit more serious than we should at times. But it would be a good movement to start to having a Hawk for men. Hawk is the Houston area women's center where you can go, right? And this is for women that are going through anything like that. We do have a center in Houston called Hawk, and they will help you they provide a number of services, to help you transition, or even in some cases, move. So it's very helpful, but we probably should have one for a man too.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Cop?
Police.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Definitely, there should not be any double standards, or what's good for a woman is good for a man. If we can have those resources for women, we should definitely have them for
Police,
men.
I have a question. I know you get called to domestic disturbances often.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten a call where the man was being abused? Has that ever happened?
Pretty sure.
So
sound like I know.
the call doesn't go out like that. The call goes out as like a domestic
disturbance.
argument.
Right.
And when we get there, he's like, well, she hit me. And she's like, yeah, I had to hit him to get him off of me. And then you just start digging a little bit deeper and you realize, yeah, she's the aggressor. And I have taken women to jail before for putting their hands on their significant other. Yes, it has happened.
The one thing I want to point out is domestic abuse is about power. Okay, It's about establishing power. And tonight we've talked about men, women, but it's also I've seen women on women.
Yes,
cousins, sisters. I've seen mother-daughter type situations. I've seen cousins. I've seen brothers. So domestic violence is about power, and it doesn't matter who it is, but it's about power, and it's about people in an environment. So let's get that. Let's point that out as well.
Right about that.
Yeah, and in that answer, it brought out something that the lady for Cheryl's voice said, that domestic violence is not always intimate partners. Right? It's domestic. It's within the home. I mean, it could be mother-daughter, like you said. It's violence within the home of people with each other. So
even dating, even if you're just dating someone, it's boyfriend, girlfriend.
Of course.
If you've been living in the house together longer than 6 months, it's considered family violence, and that weighs higher than just regular assault, regular domestic violence. Once it's family violence, that's a higher charge. And be careful with that, because once that's on your record, no job will touch you. No job will touch you with that on your record. So,
Leslie Christmas says there's a Fort Bend Women's Center. I've never heard of it, but it's probably there. But any resources that are available, I say people use it. If it's just to check it out, if you know of somebody that's going through that, go get some resources and try and help them, because most of these women that are in these situations, it is difficult for them to make the first step. People don't understand how hard it is, and especially if they have no security, they have no security net or no supportive person around them. It is so difficult to make the move. So, if you can recognize it in somebody, please help them make that first step.
And people have to realize too, it's not one reason or two reasons or three reasons why they can't get out or why they stay. It's numerous of different reasons, from low self-esteem to they don't have the money.
Finances, all kind of reasons.
They're dependent on this man to take care of them, or they have 5 kids with him and they don't think another man's gonna accept them with 5 kids. So they settle for that. So it's so many reasons. But another thing too, we think of domestic violence as the hitting and the bruises, but remember, it's mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse,
financial abuse.
It's so many different levels to domestic violence, and it's not just man on woman, woman on man. Yeah. The children get abused too, and we don't look at that. We think, oh, Johnny got spanked, but Johnny's going through some stuff at the house too.
Yeah.
It's deeper than what we think. And remember, they say hurt people. Those that are abused turn out to be abusers, and we got to stop that cycle.
Exactly. That's another key point that came out in our talk a few months back. Is said domestic violence is cyclical. People grow up seeing conflict being resolved in a certain way, and so they believe that's how conflict is resolved. Yep. If she's talking back, then I got to put it, you know what I mean? You know, so if you grow up seeing that,
Right.
so something that we continue to have to do is to speak to the youth, you know, the ones who are just out starting dating, you know, the teenagers, and have these conversations early on. So those are some things that we can do. You know, there are many ideas around, you know, way that we can get involved with that, within on different forums and going to different schools and having these conversations. But we'll never eradicate it from our society, but we can help one or two people. And you know,
bringing awareness, just talking about
exactly.
it helps a lot of people. Look how many women came out after Kirby and said, I stand with Kirby because this is my story. They didn't do it because they wanted to take the shine from her or to be relevant. No, they got that power and they said, if she can come out and talk about it, why am I embarrassed? I want to come out and talk about my story too. So it's empowering.
Yeah. Kirby did elect people too, though, so she might not be the best example. you know I'm right. You know Kirby was swinging on people, but
he was according to her, he was financially abusing her too. So
yeah,
she was like,
anyway,
I think I should get more.
And one more thing about Kirby too. You have to look at Kirby was a police officer and it happened to her. If it happened to her. It could happen to anybody. It doesn't matter what your position is. Yeah. People think that there's like this look.
Can happen to everybody.
Look a certain way or
hell no.
And that's who's abused. No. People are suffering in silence, trust me.
It can happen to everybody.
Position of power, and he was a breadwinner, so
yes.
Exactly. Right, you saw them cash apps. I control you, woman. What you doing? Yeah. Anyway. But she was still putting hands on that boy. Anyway. Desiree, you know I'm right. But I think some major news happened yesterday. The first vaccine in the UK, let's roll out their program where they're going for the COVID-19 vaccine. You know, they started off with the elderly and the healthcare workers, frontline workers. I think that's a big deal. And in the UK, the second person to get injected with the vaccine, name was William Shakespeare. How poetic, you know what I mean? So,
the vaccine or not the vaccine?
I mean, we talked about that angle about what the vaccine or not, the vax or not the vax. But I think we can all agree, I believe, that we're not going to get rid of this thing by masks and social distance. We're going to have to do some things to really bring this down. So I think it's positive in the US. We should be able to start next week. So I was reading something last night where it's talking about the Caribbean countries and the quote unquote third world, where the most powerful countries in the world, the Canada, US, Germany, what have you, those companies with their billions of dollars are buying up most of the vaccine, and they represent like 13% of the world's population. They have the most money in the world, but they represent a small portion of the population. So we're not going to get rid of this thing by just the rich countries taking care of their people, because we're very connected and people travel all about. So there's a program that the World Health Organization has put together where they're going to buy a certain amount of vaccine for these poorer countries, where they'll be able to, I think in Jamaica, for example, they'll be able to vaccinate 10% of the population for free. Those things are necessary. They call it vaccine nationalism or something, and people want to buy up everything. So it's not a good thing that a program like that, where our countries where we come from will be able to get this free of charge, is that, and Andrew Holness and PJ and all the people said they're willing to take the vaccine on camera, live, for everybody to see. Is that a good thing that we're getting it for free? Especially?
More time we have to take handout, because if they're not doing handout, we're not going to get none. Right? And it is quite clear. Right? Some
people say that they might try to kill you off. You believe that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. As much as the wealthy think that they can do without people that are not as wealthy as them. They cannot. Because there are just some jobs that they're just not going to do. And they need people like us that have to do that kind of job to survive. So they can't not vaccinate us too.
So I'm not trying to kill you off.
No,
hey, I hear that. Go on.
They need the Caribbean because sometimes they just need somewhere to go vacation.
Exactly.
If everybody down the dead, they don't have nowhere to go.
They have the place themselves. But anyway.
Yeah. No, because then they would have to wait on themselves, hand and foot down there, and they're not going to do that. Right?
Hey, so my question is, when they want to give it to us free first. Well, why we can't get it free?
No, we're not going to get it first. We don't even know when we're going to get it here in Texas. Right? They don't even know. Right? It's all speculation, because some people are saying that we probably won't even start vaccinating Texas until after Christmas.
Right? I mean, it's not going to be like regional like that. Right? Well, and every country will do how they do it, but it's going to be like categories of people. Like the most vulnerable. So that's something that as much as we talk about how Black people don't trust this thing, we are at the most risk. Right?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider as we, I don't trust this. And there are very legitimate reasons not to trust either this government or health, vaccines, I understand all that. But while we are the most at risk, we need to really consider what is the best path forward. I heard that, in addition to healthcare workers, all police have to get vaccinated. That's what I've heard. Des, you ready?
I'll be looking for a new job because I absolutely will not be getting vaccinated.
Yeah, don't want to get
they're going to give the captains and the lieutenants and the sergeants first.
So you're absolute hell no, under no circumstances.
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
I personally am not for vaccinations. At all. I do not take the flu shot. Yes, I did vaccinate my son for him to be in public. Yes, I did.
It's a requirement.
My son
for
him to be in public school. But when he got older, there was like 4 other vaccines that he was supposed to get, and I refused. And so, yes.
So what did they say? Go on, continue.
This is my thing about the vaccine for COVID. Yes, whoever wants to take it, let them take it. But making it mandatory, I think that's nonsense.
How about if it's mandatory? I mean, your son soon get it from school, so it may not be an issue then. But what if they make that mandatory to be able to go to school? Is that
the COVID vaccine?
Yeah.
My child graduate this year, so they can.
No. I said that, so and it won't affect you.
Right.
But what do you think that is foul to say for you to come to this public school, you have to take the vaccine?
I can understand. Based on their theory and what they're pushing for the whole reason why vaccinations even exist, based off of just that, then yes, I can see why vaccinating your child to go to school is necessary.
Okay. So it's
they
fine.
Can make it mandatory for employees.
How about for a job? What if
I see
police?
it coming. I see it coming. To travel, to get employment, to get government assistance, to go to the grocery store, to just exist in this world, I can see it coming. It's going to be mandatory.
So, what if Trinidad said, to come to Carnival, you have to have vaccine?
Yeah.
You just not go to Carnival?
I've been to Carnival a million times. I'm good. I've had my fill.
So, where else do you like to travel? I try to.
By the look on her face, she ain't going nowhere no time
I
soon.
ain't going nowhere. I've seen enough places. I am satisfied.
You know, it's I don't know, man. Where I am with that, Dwayne mentioned earlier, in some texts we're telling about once they started vaccinating people in the UK, like people with allergies were having these reactions. People are, we're all unique beings. Everybody has something unique about them that make this vaccine do all kinds of things. We have no idea.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah,
we don't.
Well,
we don't.
Well,
the
people
pool
that
of
were
subjects
infected,
that they've had is too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that were having issues in the UK, according to the scientists, those were rare occurrence. And being allergic to medication like that, it's rare. It's not something that you see normally happening. So and it's going to happen.
But they purposely during the test pools did not give it to persons with allergic
reactions. And you're
reactions.
right, they didn't.
Now, why would they go to the UK and give people that have
No. They knew.
The
Those people who took it knew that they were already allergic, but they did it anyway. Because all of them that were in the report said they knew that they were allergic. Don't know why they still took it, but then
how is it that they can use the words rare and these things don't normally happen? This is a brand new vaccine.
Well, no, in general, vaccine, you have some people like penicillin. Some people are just allergic, stuff like that. So you have it happening. It's not a whole lot, but it happens. But,
so we're saying that those people are expendable because it's a small,
smaller
number.
They're saying they were already recommending that if you have this allergy, do not take it. But you have some people, they're not going to tell you that they're allergic. They're going to take it just to see what happens.
Did y'all hear that 45 came out and said that it was a blessing that so many people have contracted it because it's the best immunity in of itself.
I'm not sure. I don't know why he said that because
I time for him to stop check. And just go to that person.
I guess nobody told him you can get it twice.
My thing is,
you'll find out.
I'm not no big conspiracy theorist, but some conspiracies.
But big, not big, but big.
I mean, some just make sense. Big. How long have they been talking about this market of beast and this chip in your hand and in the forehead and all this stuff for years, for generations? My mother's mother, right? And now you see the thing kind of just like transpiring, and you're like having to ask yourself, is this what it's always been about?
You got the chip already. It's in your phone.
Exactly. You going live on that chip right now.
It's on your phone right now. Who doesn't have a cell phone?
Hey, they know where we are every second of the day.
No, I agree with that. But why are they saying, hey, y'all take this vaccine, we'll pay you $1,500? Why are they so gung-ho about giving everybody this vaccine?
All right, so look, let's get real for a second. There are over 1 million people that have died worldwide from this. There are almost 300,000 people that have died in the United States from this. There are, however many millions of unemployed people because of this. Mm-hmm. How many tens of thousands of business shutting down because of this, right? So as much as we can talk about, is the vaccine the right thing? All that I just said, that is happening. So we have to decide, how are we going to get out of this? I understand 100% the skepticism behind the vaccine, and I don't put that in my body. I understand it 100%. But, we have to weigh both things here, because the consequences of the health and economic circumstances, I mean, you're seeing these lines for food here in the United States of America, the wealthiest country in the world. You're seeing, these just lines of thousands, of cars waiting for food here. So it's affecting people. So it's like, what?
The mishandling of the virus and the unpreparedness of the virus is what brought us where we're at, not the virus itself.
So I would all right. So, but with that said, that has happened. We are where we are, right? So within the U.S., I think it's leadership. Lack of leadership is why we have the worst situation in the world. But with that said, we are where we are.
Yes,
Trump is going to be there for another almost 2 months.
So bring those lives back, but them rushing to make a vaccine, not even knowing like what the outcome is going to be. How many more people are going to die from this vaccine now?
But William Shakespeare not dead yet, so we have to go on. So we'll go on.
So I'm no doctor. I've learned a little bit about the vaccine and how it works, and so on. But I think it is a positive development, because if we don't do anything, then this is just going to get if you look where we are right now to how we were back in March. Back in March, everybody was afraid of it, and the cases were a certain amount. Now, nobody's afraid of it, and the cases are as bad as they've ever been. People partying and kicking it like it's all done, like it's over. But it's as bad as it has ever been. Hospitals are stretched to the max all around the country. So you get to the point where hospitals don't have any more space, and not just for COVID patients. If you get into a car accident or a heart attack or whatever, they don't have any place for you.
The optics are not good because in my lifetime, I've never actually seen people standing up in line waiting for food.
I never saw
food lines. This is just not my generation.
I never saw that in Jamaica.
Yes. So it is a horrible. There's a lot of horrible events going on. And if we don't get this thing curved, it's going to get worse. Because
and I agree with that, but I'm curious to see, even if it's not something that will kill us, even if the vaccine doesn't kill us, in 2 years when babies are the rate for babies being born with 11 toes and 12 fingers, when that starts happening, then what are y'all gonna say? Well, at least we didn't kill off the rest of the population.
No,
that's true.
A few extra fingers here and there is okay.
If you lose a finger, then you have the extra one, so you're good.
No, let me tell you what. A lot of people had those kind of speculation when they started mass vaccine back in the 60s. When you're getting vaccines for polio, measles, stuff like people used to say, I'm not going to take it because those are the things that are going to happen. It never did. It never happened. I'm not saying that people won't have side effects, but mutations like that, what's going to happen. I understand your point. But I don't think mutations like that is going to happen because vaccines they don't operate like that. If it's operating like that, it wasn't a vaccine. Right?
Have y'all seen I Am Legend or World War Z? There's some zombies running around.
Exactly. So Chris, you're gonna take the vaccine? Yes?
I never said anything of the sort.
I'm asking.
All right, so my position on it is just like a new iPhone update. I'm going to wait a while. I'm not going to be first in line. But
even if you wanted to be anyway.
I haven't been called young in years. Appreciate that, especially.
But he's African American, and we're the ones.
I'm Jamaican.
We're the ones highly affected. So
I am Jamaican. Correct yourself. I'm Jamaican. I'm not African American. I'm African Caribbean.
He'll be lucky if he gets vaccinated by summer. I'm telling you. If it's available to you.
But so to answer your question, I am not anti the vaccine. Are there conditions under which I would take it? Certainly. Am I going to be one of the first ones to do it? Absolutely not. I would like to see it be make some millions of people take it first, and let's see what happens.
Oh, that's
all right. You know, the trial side was like 40,000 of the billions of people in this world. So, you know, Joe Biden say want to within the first 100 days vaccinate 100 million people. Perfect. Let's see what happens. Let's see if things start going down. Let's see what happens, and then we roll from there. I'm not opposed to it.
Stand by.
Let me tell you,
exactly. Tell Pfizer to stand by. The so-called
the vaccine is not a cure. It's a preventative.
Exactly.
So if you already have it, it cannot help you.
And that
can't help you.
And that's something that I heard a doctor say last night, that, you know, with all the good news about the vaccine, what she's worried about is what will happen is that the vaccine come out, people just fling off the mask and just go on back to business, and then it would just worsen the situation.
The mask has not failed me so far. So guess what? I will continue. Okay? I will continue, period.
I'm going to roll up the mask.
Are you gonna take the vaccine?
No. He's not a hell no. Give it 2 to 3, and I'll think about it.
He'll wait a while.
He's with me.
Years.
And you, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a scientist. Of course, I'll take the vaccine after Chris and Tex. Yes, I'll take it.
Good one.
I'm going to wait until
especially since take it in 2025.
I'm gonna wait until those 2 guys take it. I'll come by their bedside, watch the reaction, pray for them, and then after they live, I'll take it.
The economic consequences though are real. You know, and some things that are going on which aren't really fair. So like in I saw an interview with a lady. She owned a restaurant in LA. And, you know, they spent all this money to, you know, build up the outdoor seating area.
Yeah, I saw that. It was a nice area too.
Yeah, nice area. So now they say you can't eat outside. You can't do that anymore. Spend all this money, and, you know, so she's like, okay, I understand the indoor dining, but now they say we can't even have outdoor dining, but they spent all this money. However, you have other retail establishments, like the malls are still open. People still going to the malls, doing all this. So and the way many places are doing this isn't really fair. But you know,
the moral of that is we don't want you to be drunk and have COVID. That's a 2 no. Right? Do something else.
You know, it's just it's. For the businesses affected, certain type of businesses are, in my estimation, being singled out more than others. Right? Like you're the problem. You can't run a bar. But if you have a restaurant where people go to come in and sit down and eat, you can open. That don't make sense. you need to take off your mask to drink a beer or
drink
to eat.
Or eat. Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the difference? You know. But what I say is, for the general public, it don't matter what the government or the governor and the mayor say you can and cannot do. Protect yourself. It don't matter who keeping which event or what have you. Do what you believe is in your best interest for you and your family. So, you know.
Exactly.
Anyway, so let's wrap this up. I have some other topics, but hey, I'll be on here for another couple hours if you leave it up to text. I can chat so much. Anyway.
Let's make a cuss on bad word.
Police, thank you for joining us tonight. You know how we do it at the end of the night. You leave us with some words of wisdom. You know, your video lights.
Words of wisdom. Let's stop normalizing domestic violence. There's nothing normal about it. We need to demonize it because it is something that is terrible in our community. So keep your hands to yourself. If you know that someone's being abused, help them in any way that you can. And if you don't know how to help them, reach out to someone else that can. Also, please check out the MCC Toy Drive. 2020 has hit us all hard, but it has hit others harder than some of us. And if you can, just donate a toy for a boy or girl. There's several toy drop-off places. You can check my Facebook. Soul Rebel.
Don't nobody know your Facebook. Tell us Tell us some locations and your Facebook.
Okay, some locations. Cool Run-Ins. Big Up Yourself. Tehran has a box. There's a box at Cool Run-Ins. There's a box at Island Spice Bar and Grill in Katy. There's a box at Caribbean Corner here in Baytown. And if you have a large donation, you can call my phone. Soul Rebel is gonna post a flyer on their page. Also, this weekend at Soiree with the Houston Caribbean Professionals Associations, they'll have a box there, and several other events coming up are gonna have a box at the front door of their event. So it's a big deal. Let's give back to those that's less fortunate.
What's MC what?
MCC, the Multicultural Connection Organization.
Okay, all right, okay. Yes, please support that.
Yeah.
She is the one good police we have in the city, so let's support her in our initiatives. All right.
Thank you.
Special.
Yes. Yeah, man. With the passing of Marcus Garvey's son, this is a time to reflect on, positive movements. As me love tell people, hey, Marcus Garvey is not just a picture of the man who look like a police, right? A whole heap of positive things. If you don't know who he is, please read up on him. And once again, people, be patient. If the vaccine gets to you, it gets to you. I suggest you guys take it and be well. I will be there cheering for everybody who's willing to take it. And let's just see how it goes. But we will get out of this. I know we will survive. Human race, we always survive. And wear your mask.
Wear your damn mask. Simple.
Wear your mask.
Texas.
So, I've always heard, which we've all heard the term, guilty and until proven innocent. Is that how it goes, or is it the other way?
Innocent until proven guilty.
Did you just say guilty until proven innocent?
Social media. You call the social media version.
Hey, I said that on purpose.
I know.
Just because that is exactly what it is. They're telling y'all a freaking lie. Okay, you're guilty. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why. And the only reason I bring this up because in the last two media situations, and I'm talking about Megan Thee Stallion and this Majah hype thing, we always believe the first story that we hear without hearing anything else. That's what people run with. Okay, so that's why I said guilty until proven innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about the court system, okay, if somebody is accused of a crime, why do they have to go to jail and post bail to prove their innocence? Why don't they go to trial, and then render a verdict, and then you deal with them that way? You understand what I'm saying? So with that said, hey, let's take our time when these stories come out, hear both sides, come up with just an informed decision before we convict somebody, okay? And as my co-host said, the vaccine is out. Well, will be out soon, but that's not a indicator for a free-for-all. So continue to wear your mask. It's going to take a couple months to basically circulate the system. So, hey, let's do your due diligence. Do what's best for you and your family.
That's what's up. Wise words there, Texas. Guilty until proven innocent. That's
what it is.
That really is the social media way. And we've talked about both of those situations, the Megan situation, the Majah hype situation. And I think at the end of the day, as hard as people may jump into one corner, we don't know, so let's, so I have to understand that for the most part, what people will go with is the first story they hear, right? And something may be proven later on, Yeah, what something may be proven later on, but it's really if you are completely innocent, it's hard to get back your name because people never hear about that part of it. They just know that you shot a woman in her foot and you beat this woman, and that's it. They don't hear the rest of it. So what I hope that this you know we'll see what happens with this case, but I think one thing I pointed out to me that there are lots of toxic situations out there. So if you're in a toxic situation, try and leave that thing. It's easier said than done, I know, but it's not really good for either party. So to the COVID situation, I know that we all have reason to be skeptical about this vaccine. We want to get back to regular life. We want to get back to travel whenever we want to go to dance, party whenever we want to go. We want to go back to school. Carnival, all those regular parts of life. So let's just hope and pray that this vaccine has the intended effect to bring down, to not spread this any wider. We all, ready to get back to normal life. So, with that said, I thank each and every one of you for joining tonight. Police?
I have one more thing.
Uh-oh.
God put this on my spirit to say this.
Don't we put God in this.
Another topic that people don't talk about openly is mental health, depression and suicide. And with everybody that's lost someone this year to COVID or whatever else, just be mindful that someone somewhere is probably going through something and they're not willing to speak out on it. Pay attention to the signs for that too. Someone is probably suicidal or depressed and they don't know who to turn to, who to talk to until it's too late. So just remember that holidays are a tough time dealing with the loss of loved ones, and somebody might not be able to deal with it or carry that burden. So look out for each other. Just pay attention to the signs.
Yeah, I thank you.
Great point.
I thank you for saying that. It's like when we talk about like the COVID thing in particular, we're talking in terms of numbers. But like when you really think about it, our last number is like 280,000. It's not only 280,000 people who have died, 280,000 families, who their lives will never be the same ever again. And that affects people in all kinds of different ways. The economic, struggle people are going through, that affects people in all kinds of different ways as well. I have two close friends who've lost parents within the past week. And, as you mentioned, at the holiday time of year, I think about, my dearly departed mom and, how much the holidays meant to her. So especially at this time of year, and the fact that we can't really get together as family and friends like we used to. Like when I think about when mommy died, there was nothing like all of us getting together, like dozens of family members getting together and leaning on each other, laughing together, crying together, eating together, drinking together to get us through that. But now with COVID, you can't even do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Thanksgiving sucked. Thanksgiving sucked.
Exactly.
It was a Zoom. It was like this. It was a Zoom.
Yeah.
It was a Zoom giving. So
are the fritters you miss, man? Tell the truth.
Y'all get fritters.
The fritters. Anyway, thank you for pointing that out, Desiree. Go on.
And just let me interject real quick with that. And Chris was talking about the families, and I'm gonna point that out to Desiree. The weekend of your event, my parents got COVID, both of them. Okay, and my mom had light symptoms, and my dad was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Okay, so it's serious. So
it hits
again,
different. Yeah.
We weren't touched, by the grace of God. But my parents who don't go anywhere,
exactly,
don't go anywhere, got it. So hey, wear our masks, man. Let's do our due diligence for each other. Period.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah, man. But yeah, the mental health. If you know somebody in that in that area, we can, because it's something that has come up before. An expert in that area. That is something that I don't think is well understood.
Yeah.
Right.
That we should have
we can have a guest next. I have an expert that can come on.
Cool. Let's do that.
Another thing that our community takes for joke or thinks it's funny.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talking, like, oh, you're a madman.
That's exactly what the
exactly.
I actually know somebody from MHMR. You can have them on. Maybe just have a light conversation.
Let's do it, because these are very, like, Egyptian. These are some serious times, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're living through some serious times. So, anyway, everyone, thank you for this wonderful reason. Desiree, thank you for behaving yourself tonight for once. The video light fit you, my girl. It fit you. Anyway,
where's Waldo?
You just wait till that live sign goes off the screen. I am gonna get you.
JustReason.com, Just Reason group on Facebook. Check us out every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you like this discussion, you like this conversation, share this on your page, tell somebody about it, and let's keep having these very important discussions. So, Rebel, we'll soon give information about that stuff, how you can support Rebel Collection, a sponsor of this program. So, until next week, same time, same channel. Bless upon yourself, people. One love.
Good night.
Whoa.
Black